What's up, guys? In today's podcast, we're talking with David Nathan. Guy is a seasoned entertainment executive. He was one of the first guys who actually created Republic Records. He helped Taylor Swift transition over to pop. He saw Ed Sheeran in his room, sitting in front of him, playing without shoes on before Ed Sheeran was Ed Sheeran. And we're going to talk about the amazing stuff he's doing, what he's doing with his new entertainment company called Happy Jack. And it's a really good episode, so let's go ahead and dive in. Yep. So, David,
yes, sir.
So you spent a few decades in the music industry and in the entertainment industry. And the question I have for you, does the music industry worship Satan?
There's definitely artists that do worship Satan in the industry, I'm sure. Going back to all the rock stuff back in the 70s and 80s and probably his 50s and 60s. I don't think they worship Satan per se today, but there are definitely deals with the devil that have been done. I will tell you that.
What do you mean by that?
I'm sure there's record contracts and they always say, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of that 27 Club, right? Which is the artists that have died, that have gone through their career and died at the age of 27. It's like Jim Morrison, Amy Winehouse, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, crazy things. And so there's always these stories of that these artists had made their deals with the devil. And they wanted to be famous. They wanted to put music out. They wanted to become these bigger than life artists and celebrities. And then at 27, your life was over and you went to the devil's side. So it's been going on for years. So who knows?
We laugh about it a little bit, but
yeah.
do you think there is any truth to it, or is it just?
It's a very interesting age. And so at 27, to be able to get to where you are, and then all of a sudden, like, all these artists have died at that age. Maybe there is some truth to it. I mean, I don't believe in it, but you never know, right?
Oh, dude, that's crazy.
Know. Yeah.
So, with that, there is like these two different sides of the music industry. There's like the artists who are like the front facing people. Think like Billie Eilish and then there's like the guys in suits behind it, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the same with actors, the same with even with like athletes. Do you think that like these artists, are they just like puppets in the scene and the real people that are making the shots are behind the scenes?
Back in the day, I think there was a lot more puppetry going on, right? I believe today, just in the world of social media and the ability to market brand and talk about yourself, I feel like there's a lot more artists out there today that are not puppets, right? That are saying, I'm going to do it this way, and I don't give a shit what you say. Can we swear?
Yeah.
All right, go. And I don't really care what you think. This is how I'm doing. If you don't like it, then I'll go do an independent record, and I'll leave you, and let's part ways. But there's definitely some puppetry still. I mean, it's still controlled by the suits and the ivory towers and what goes on up top. But I think it's definitely changing for the better.
Okay. Yeah. So when you say back in the day, like, what does that refer to? Are we talking like Elvis era? Or are we talking like
10, 15 years ago?
Oh, okay. Wow.
Like even, I when I first got into the business, I've been doing this for now, can you bleep this out? But over 30 years.
30 years, you're only 35. It's
yeah, exactly. Great. It's hard to do when I started at 5. But, back in the days of, I got into the business when you used to be able to pay for things and do stuff, and now it's obviously changed a lot. But I think back, in the 80s and the 90s, it was extremely controlled, seriously controlled by the top. The presidents, the chairman, the heads of promotion, marketing, branding, they all ran the show. And I think now it's flipped. I think the artists have a little bit more leverage. I think they have more creativity. I think they have the ability to dictate what they will and will not do. For some of them, it's become very successful. For others, they hit the wall and then they go backwards. So
yeah. So we're talking like Michael Jackson, mm-hmm. right? Was Michael Jackson his own person, or was a lot of the stuff he was doing and creating, was it just dictated by the business people?
Yeah, I think it was both. I think having the ability to work with, artists or managers or agents or, the like Quincy Jones and, Berry Gordy and those guys back in the day were they had their vision. And, I think Michael is an interesting topic because he grew up in a family that was in the business, right? He was, I think, 7 years old or something like that when he first started in the Jackson 5. But I always think it was controlled. I think then there was an image, there was a vision, there was a focus on what they wanted out of the Jackson 5. And I think they, to their credit, their father stayed involved, but I think there was definitely a line that they had to stay on, and they weren't able to go left or right off of that line. But I think today that line is blurred. I think, like I said earlier, I think the artists have much more creative control of what they want to do, how they want to do it, when they want to do it. I mean, you're seeing even just, the biggest artists in the world are releasing single after single after single after single right now, as opposed to like the way it used to be, which is you work a single for anywhere between 12 and 40 weeks. Then you drop another single, and then you drop another, and then maybe you drop the album. I think now it's like even Taylor is just dropping, Post is putting out an album. Even like people, artists that are passed away, Mac Miller, they're putting out music. They can't do anything with that, right? They have complete control over Mac Miller because he's not here. So it's a very interesting dynamic when you talk about the industry and the controllers and the puppets and the artists and their say. And I think there's a lot to be said for where we sit today as opposed to where we were 10, 15 years ago in the industry.
Interesting. Yeah. So with that, it does lead a lot to actually what you're doing now, which is you created a Happy Jack, and now Happy Jack is an extension of. And I'll let you share, but what's interesting. So like artists are operating by single, work harder, more content, this and this, and I would imagine like Mac Miller even like it's affecting people's mental health.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? And then I'd love for you to share like why Happy Jack exists.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely, and I'll get into it in a second, but even if you look at the deck that we're actually putting out about Happy Jack Entertainment, we highlight, and that's not the greatest word because it's not something you want to be, you want to poke fun at, which we're not, but we highlight specific artists, and I could put 50 on this page of artists that have canceled tours, that have not been able to perform, that have left the music business, right, because of their mental health state. And I think it's something that's really important today, and that's why I'm doing what we're doing. And I can get into, the specifics of Happy Jack and how this all started and where we are today with Happy Jack Entertainment and the record company and everything. But I believe that, the mental well-being of an artist has to be put at the forefront of their career today. And unfortunately, it hasn't been. And I've talked about it enough where I've said I've been in thousands of meetings, with artists and managers and agents and record executives and all these things. And I don't ever remember once it ever being brought up about how does the artist feel? How is their mental health? How are they doing? And that's sad. That's something. So I'm super focused on signing artists and working with creative minds and people that believe in what we're doing and want to be a part of making a change in the industry.
Do you think that kind of mental health is responsible for like Mac Miller passing away?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when we can get into this, when my son passed away at 19 years old, the same way Mac did. And ironically, he was an enormous fan of Mac. It was his favorite artist in the world. But yeah, I think that, there's higher standards when you're a celebrity. There's higher standards when you're an athlete, when you're a music artist that is, at the top and the upper echelon of your, of what you're doing in life. And I think the stresses and the pressures of that compound, and I think at some point they get to you. And no, I don't know the nuances of where Mac was mentally, but I know that he talked about it. I know that he had mental issues, mental health issues, and I know that he was trying to get help for it. And unfortunately, it may have been too late. So, in the answer to your question, in that respect, is probably yes. I think it definitely had a part in where he was and where he ended up.
So on Happy Jack, so what is the mission of it? You talked about your son.
Yeah.
What do you guys do?
So my son Jack was in college, University of Denver, and he was extremely creative. He was a serial entrepreneur. He created businesses, sold things, bought things, sold things, created those waffles on Facebook, and was doing all these things. And just, but he suffered from anxiety and some depression, and found music and art and fashion as his way to get out of that gray space, he used to call it. And so when he was in college, he started a company. He was making clothing, designing clothing with different characters and sketches and images. Came home in 2020, March of 2020, in the middle of COVID. and locked himself in the basement, came up with this concept, LLC'd the company, found his distributors, found his printers, found all these things. He put everything together. He wanted no connection to me and to my ex-wife at the time to help him. Excuse me. He was just about, look, if I make a mistake, it's on me. If I do this right, it's on me. I want to create this. I have a vision. And it was all about being the voice for his generation for mental health. And it was speaking up for kids who couldn't speak up and being that pillar for all these kids who are suffering from any type of mental health issues. So Jack launched the company in June of 2020. His first $1,000 that he made a day after he launched the company, he donated to Child Mind Institute, which is a foundation that focuses on kids who suffer from mental health. They wanted to do a deal with him. He did not want to do an exclusive deal because he wanted to help everyone. And his whole philosophy, and I tell this to everybody, was, make money, give it away. I'm like, not the greatest business model, but that was his thing. He was like, I'm going to make money in my life. I don't care. I want to be able to help everybody I can, one person at a time. Went to a party in July of 2020 in South New Jersey where we live. And at the end of the night, took what he thought was a Percocet just to kind of lay him, to chill him out for the rest of the night. And it was laced with fentanyl. And he went to sleep and never woke up. So that was July 3rd. And my ex-wife and I took over the company July 4th, or right after the holiday. First thing we did was turn the focus on a memorial hat, which we sold for 2 weeks and sold 1,900 of them. And we wrote a check for $24,000 to Child Mind Institute. And that began the next phase of Happy Jack. So we have since continued to build this company. We've done partnerships with Lady Gaga's Born This Way, with Rare Beauty, which is Selena Gomez. We just did a licensing deal with Kenneth Cole. We're doing a bunch of different things. We're growing the company. We have 60 college ambassadors that work with us across the country on all the college campuses. And their first job is not to sell our product. Their first job is to be the conduit between anybody on the campus and the resources that the college offers. Give them the opportunity to speak to somebody, to understand where the mental health organizations are on campus, and so on and so forth. And so we have done a tremendous job on that side, but there was something missing. And for me, growing up in the music industry, and Jack always loving music and being a hip hop kid, and at the latter part of his, which sounds so ironic, but at the latter part of his life, started getting into Led Zeppelin and Grateful Dead and Pink Floyd and all these very interesting, eclectic and old artists. I really got a chance to see that he really believed in and loved music and wanted to be creative. So probably about 9 months ago, I got introduced to somebody, a friend of a father's son, who is a DJ all over the world, and said, my buddy called me and said, you got to talk to Sam. He's young. He went to Indiana. He's really smart. He wants to make a difference, but he doesn't know how to do it. And he and I had a conversation. 5 minutes into it, we knew what we were doing, and that was to launch an entertainment company. I had always wanted to do it, and as I was telling you earlier, my relationships with the way I kind of look at myself in the music business is experienced, relationship-driven, networker, knowledgeable, and seasoned. And Sam comes at it from the other side, which is young, aggressive, focused, and somewhat inexperienced in terms of just the business. Perfect match, right? And so we started Happy Jack Entertainment, and the main focus right now is Happy Jack Records for me, which is signing artists and working with them, but only working with artists that want to help make a difference in their communities, themselves, their fans, but also want to accept and speak about their issues. They have to have some type of mental health issue. It can be anything, that falls into that circle of mental health. But it's really important for us and the beliefs and the forward thinking of how we're looking at the record company. And this is also going to lead into podcasts. It's going to lead into education. It's going to lead into a foundation. All these things all falling under Happy Jack Entertainment. So I'm really, truly excited about the artists we're going to work with and what we're doing. And it's going to change the music industry.
Dude, I love that. And I think that, when we talk about change in the music industry, like how has that changed? You spent 3 decades doing this. Like is the music industry in a place where it's screwed?
I don't necessarily think it's screwed, but I think that they're, like I said earlier, I think that the fact that the major record companies don't really and truly acknowledge their artists and their problems is a problem. And that's the difference of what we're doing. We are focusing on building these communities for the misunderstood, with the artists being kind of the at the forefront of it, right? And doing something different and giving the artists the opportunity to speak their mind, to educate their, like I said, their fans and themselves, and better themselves, and do things and care about them. Because look, without the artist, you don't have a record company, right? You're not making music. If you don't make music, you're not streaming. If you're not streaming, you're not selling. If you're not selling, you're not touring. So there's zero there if an artist falls off the face of the earth. So our responsibility is to them, because if they're doing and they're the best people they can be, then we're going to get the best product. And we get the best product, we have the angles to be able to promote it, market it, brand it, and create the next stars of the future.
Did Avicii kill himself too? Was that? Do you know?
I think Avicii overdosed. I think, yeah. So that was like in the beginning of it, yeah.
And yeah, so it sounds like there's a lot of artists, and I'm not as plugged in as you, but
yeah.
but
he definitely had mental health issues too, though. I mean, there's been all these articles written about him and his state and where he was, and depressed. And
do you think that modern day social media is responsible for
100%.
a lot of the mental health stuff?
Yeah, I think it's, we talk about it all the time, and my artists that I manage, we talk about it all the time, and I think it's the pressures of trying to grow your TikTok numbers or grow your Instagram numbers or post something that is either non-offensive, informative, educational, all these kind of things. It's like,